Hello, and thank you so much for joining Stories with Kishen. It's been a minute, but we are back, and we are back entering a new season. And a lot of what we'll be talking about will be again focused on women. Of course, there will be some men on the program, but today I thought it was just appropriate for us to start off with a very dynamic woman, and we're talking about health, women's health right now. And so I am going to be bringing to you somebody who is definitely a credentialed individual in the field of healthcare. And so I'm going to read the bio, and then I'll bring to the virtual stage our guest. So Toni Curtis, incoming Director of Advocacy, a member of Doula International for the past 3 years, Toni serves as DEI Subcommittee Chairperson for the Black Mother and Baby and DEI Impact Chairperson for the organization. An active participant in the North Carolina Doula Action Team, Toni collaborates with the North Carolina Institute of Medicine and the Department of Health and Human Services to enhance the accessibility of doula services through key recommendations on credentialing, Medicaid reimbursement, and the scope of services from preconception to postpartum. In addition, Toni partners with the North Carolina Community Health Worker Association and the Think Babies Initiative, which advocates for prioritizing the needs of infants and toddlers and their families. This initiative focuses on quality, affordable childcare, parental bonding, healthy emotional development, and the strong physical health and nutrition items. Through various advocacy efforts, including events like Strolling Thunder and policy forums, Toni helps raise awareness among policymakers and the critical needs of young children and their families. Toni also hosts annual community education and training events for doulas, providing them with opportunities to sharpen their skills in lactation, bodywork, and mental health. Toni's extensive certifications include birth doula certification through Donna, certification as a child birth educator through Lamaze International, certification as a lactation counselor, certification as a VBAC doula, and certification as a community health worker. So I am going to bring to the stage, I think it's appropriate. I've been talking about Toni Curtis. And so let's bring her in as she joins the conversation. Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. So the person who I was bragging about is here. Toni, thank you so much for joining Stories with Kishen. Truly ordinary people with extraordinary lives. And you have definitely an extraordinary life, not only from a personal standpoint, but also from a professional standpoint. So let's talk a little bit about what you've done that leads you to the point where you are today. And we'll talk a little bit about the book that is on the way. So I've already shared all of your extensive involvement in the North Carolina area, but tell us a little bit about this whole doula. What is a doula for those people who don't know what a doula is?
So a doula is emotional and physical and knowledge support. So doulas come in a variety of ways. So there are things like birth doulas, bereavement doulas, postpartum doulas. Some of us are full spectrum doulas, which means that we support anything that is perinatal, right? Anything in the perinatal, maternal health, infant health spectrum. So if you are adjusting to having a child, whether that be adoption, giving birth, somehow you have a new baby, those are postpartum support. Postpartum does anything there, anything related to birth. If you are having a baby, if you have used a surrogate, it doesn't matter. We are there to support you through that process. So there are a lot of things that go into it that you may not. And the doulas tend to be the expert on what you don't know. And then we help you fix it.
So let me, I want to ask this question because as you were speaking, something came to mind. Back in the day, long time ago, and I think about like midwives, because like I remember I think my mom was, no, I don't think either of my parents were born in a hospital. So I think of a midwife, and I mean, there were successful deliveries back then. So is that tantamount to what a doula is, or explain the difference between a midwife and a doula?
So doulas don't take care of the medical, right?
Okay.
They're coaches, knowledge. There's a lot that you don't know. Just it's more than natural ability. Regardless of how you give birth, there's information that you just don't know because you've never done it, or you don't know the environment, you don't know how to navigate the environment in which you're going into having it. Now, midwives deliver babies. They actually take care of you medically. They track your pregnancy. They do all of your vitals, the same as an OBGYN would. The only difference is that an OBGYN is a surgeon and a midwife is not. But they specialize in pregnancy and birth and postpartum. But there's a big thing that happened. In the 1950s, midwifery was removed from the American people because it was predominantly run by people of color or some poor white communities. They were the midwives of the day. Midwife was not a glorified job. It was an expectation of service. Everyone was born by a midwife. They were probably born at home. They weren't going to hospital. But there was this push in the 1950s to change it to hospital because it was supposed to be safer, but really it was a push of feminism to not deal with pain in childbirth, or as they would call, as it was called, the person. So as that was marketed to women, then midwifery became less the way that babies were born and people went into the hospital. But there's a difference between what we call physiological birth, which is the human's body ability to give birth, be pregnant, and recover in the postpartum period, and medicalized birth. Medicalized birth has a lot of interventions, very hands-on, and it adds to risk. The other reason midwives were removed is because there was a loss of life associated with midwifery, but in all reality, the biggest culprit to loss of life during that time was poverty. Poverty was the killer. And we know this because science has shown that birth outcomes didn't improve with technology. They got worse. And now we have what's called the maternal health crisis. And the maternal health crisis is focused around the fact that all women going into the hospital in the United States are 2 times more likely to die than in any other first world country. And I mean any.
Wait,
We dead last. Black women 4 times more likely. All women are 2 times more likely.
That's 2 times more likely to die?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay, let's talk about that. So, because there are a lot of different factors that come into birth. I mean, from the beginning, conception, and we're jumping right into this. I wanted to go in a whole different direction, but we're not going to do that. So let's talk about that whole process as it relates to a continual cycle. So from conception to birth and then going through adulthood. And the reason I say that is because I've been doing studies on ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. But I know when we talked before offline, you talked about even how the couple gets together and the impact that has on that child even before they're born. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know this is real deep. Some people are going to be like, what? That's not possible. But let's talk about it from your perspective.
So one of the things that I have done in the way that I teach the physiological birth model from the lifespan approach, which the way that I teach it is something that I personally pioneered. I took into consideration all of the elements that make up a person and looked at how that was affecting birth outcomes and then the children. Because we have a lot of things happening inside of the Black community and in others that go hand in hand. So one of the things is that Black women have a predisposition to higher stress levels. Okay? It's a genetic marker. It's been found and it's being passed down generationally. So then you take ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and you look at the way that the care providers bond, access to what we call the social determinants of health, a couple of them, education, housing, food, those types of things, the security things, the human rights element of it. And then we look at the culture, the people that are influencing them, the types of things that are being taught, and the types of beliefs that are being developed. And then we look at the environment in which people go in to have children. You take all of these elements, and what you will find is a common theme. Once the chain is broken, the links are weakened. So if you have a person that has high stress levels, they are more likely to develop a chronic health condition. If you have a culture that doesn't include breastfeeding, you are at a higher chance. I'm going to speak about the mom and not the baby. I'm just going to talk about the people giving birth. We'll get into the baby benefits in a minute. But sometimes people have never heard about what happens to the mother or the birthing person. Okay. Mm-hmm. When a person that gives birth doesn't breastfeed, they have an increased chance of developing breast cancer, type 2 diabetes, uterine cancer, osteoporosis, anything endocrine related, because the body was prepared to do something. Cancer is abnormal cellular activity. So when you don't do something that the body was prepared to do, you risk developing a condition later. So when you give birth in a hospital, they're only looking at what's happening right now. So they're looking at this much, but this much of you is affected. So then you take the ability to cope with birth. You take the ideas around how birth is done. You take how you take care of yourself. You take into consideration your environment. Are you eating nutritious foods? Are you in a food desert? Do you have a supportive community? Having a child requires support. Do you have the tolerance for children? Those ACEs, right? Predisposition. If you were born to a parent that was born of parents that were alcoholics, your parent might not be an alcoholic, but they may have a predisposition. Then you go in, you give birth to a baby, you come from parents, or you have a predisposition to have an adverse reaction to opioids, but you go have a baby. And what do they give you? Opioids. And what do they send you home with? Opioids. So then you can have a relationship to that with mental health. Take into consideration that when you have a baby and you don't breastfeed, you are more likely to develop a postpartum mood disorder, because the hormone that runs birth, that probably got you pregnant, that helps you in the postpartum period, is in your breastfeeding. Oxytocin is released through breastfeeding. Oxytocin is the feel-good hormone. Oxytocin is what makes contractions happen. Oxytocin is probably the reason you got pregnant.
So what is oxytocin?
Oxytocin is a hormone that is there. It's the bonding hormone. It's the hormone that makes you feel good. So what makes you feel good when you're petting a dog? What makes you feel good when you're with a partner where you have a loving relationship? Because when love is devoid, it's not oxytocin, it's dopamine. That's a different conversation. But when two people actually are in love, they
Oh,
release oxytocin. But oxytocin is also affiliated with orgasm. It is the feel good hormone. Endorphins, positive activity, and the hormone that allows you to do these things. However, when you are in an environment where you know that this hormone and these positive relationships should exist, when people think about birth, they only think about the pain of childbirth. But the process of having a baby is the hormone that makes you feel good. So the problem is not pain, it's fear. And the fear goes back
fear?
to fear. Oxytocin is not present when fear is present. It's called an adrenaline, right? Adrenal function. So if you are
You know
afraid,
what?
the hormones don't
Oh,
play together.
this is so deep because, and I want it to be understandable for maybe young people who aren't quite under, don't
Let me give you an
understand the
analogy.
terminologies. Okay.
All right. Let me give you an analogy. You ever been to a party and your song came on? That's your song. Your
Yeah.
song is on. Hey, that's okay. And then somebody plays a completely wrong song. Everybody leave the dance floor. Nobody happy anymore. Everybody looking for something to do. And they put on that song, right? You was in the middle of your two-step and you was having fun. And then all of a sudden, somebody came and put the wrong song on. Those are catecholamines. Those are your adrenal function. That's your fight or flight. That's your stress, cortisol. Your oxytocin and your endorphins was that song that had you dancing, the song that made you feel good, song that's oxytocin. And that is how the body plays together. The body wants to be in balance.
So,
So
in essence, okay. So I may have missed that. I told you my delay, but go ahead.
so everything in your body has a purpose. Okay? Everything in your body has a purpose.
Yeah.
Oxytocin is there to make you feel good so that you can go through the experience, so that you can have a positive relationship with your body. Adrenal functions are there to protect you. It's to let you know that
Okay.
there's danger and to stop the body from doing something when you're not safe. It lets you know you need to run. It lets you know that something's not right. So there are a lot of things that can trigger this. Remember, you mentioned ACEs, event, right? Those childhood experiences, those negative experiences. Well, when you are in labor or you are having a baby, you have to deal with who you are,
Mhm.
your experience. And when we don't deal with who you are, when we get into that room for you to have a baby, the world shuts down for you. And we have to bring you back to a place where it's going to be okay. The body is not going to go for it if you don't go for it.
Yeah.
And your experience in being traumatized is greatly related to you. There's another part, which is understanding the environment you're going in. Sometimes when you know what you're dealing with, it makes it so you can have a plan. We help you have a plan. So let's just say on a different level, you don't know how to communicate with others because of your life experience. You got a short
Mhm.
fuse. you're irritable, but this is the one time where we have to figure out how to make sure you are okay so that you can do this well. For Black people in particular, it can look like a medical attack that you don't realize is happening. This patient is disgruntled. This patient is hard to work with. And whenever they read your chart, they read this information about you. They don't see that your life experience has made you defensive. This
Yeah.
puts us at danger when we go to do things. Or they have a bias against this, and they're
Yeah.
already a little bit afraid of us. So when we say or do anything, it causes them to have a reaction and give you bad medicine.
So this is what came to mind. So sometimes a picture can be painted that's inaccurate. And because you don't know me other than what you are reading about me, this is the narrative that has been created. And so this is why people respond accordingly.
Mhm.
So,
So there's another
and
version. Remember I said social determinants of health, right? So
mhm,
there is a belief that because you're Black, you're at a greater risk of having a condition. So even though you don't have the condition, they're treating
mhm.
you for the condition that you don't have yet.
Yeah, and you say yet, and just say you don't have because they try to project that on you.
So now you're in an environment that is expecting you to have something you don't have. So the treatment is geared towards your ethnicity based on statistics and not what's actually happening in real time. So they're not helping.
Let me share this. For those of you who don't know, this is Toni Curtis. And I'm just going to read some of her credentials just so that you know I mean, clearly you can hear her articulate her knowledge, but it's a whole list, y'all. So just bear with me. And I may not read all of them, but I just want you to understand. So she has a BSBA from Sullivan University, basic life support from the American Heart Association, certified advanced fertility nutrition, Health and Science Academy, certified advanced sports and exercise nutritional advisor. Oh, I like that. Health Sciences Academy, certified birth doula. Um, Donna, Donna, right? Donna International. Lama certified childbirth educator from Lama, certified birth educator, Academy of Childbirth Educators, certified lactation counselor, certified nutritional therapist, certified peer educator. I mean, there's so many certifications. Spinning babies aware practitioner. These are just some of her credentials. So when she's talking about things that seem like, well, that sounds like doctor terminology. Well, I think she's been in the space long enough to understand, what these different physiological challenges or indicators are as it relates to childbirth before and after. I want to talk a little bit about so I'm going to transition to your book because I want people to know there is a book, and I already started telling people about your book, although it's not out yet. Because I think it's so important for people to know sometimes it's not you, but just your lack of information. And so let's talk about your book. You wrote this book, and what's the title of the book?
Physiological birth practices. So my physiological birth practices over the lifespan. My life
Okay.
is what I teach. I ran against every obstacle just about that women face. And in a lot of ways, I was faced with no option.
So when you say obstacles for what? Um,
So for me, I suffered infertility for 17 years. there was
Mm.
not a doctor anywhere who could help me have a child. I got 2 of these people running around my house tearing it up regularly. Listen, me, my daughter, and my son, we a whole situation. But I ran against the antagonistic view of my family who didn't know how to support a woman who was suffering from infertility and being told to give up and that I was harming myself and that I need to stop, and just how terrible
Mm.
of a person I was made out to be because it was something I wasn't willing to let go. And I knew in myself that I would have children. It was a vision that I had from God when I was very young that let me know that I was going to find the right path, that I was on the right path, because I had been facing irregular cycles and uh, things that a lot of women have gone through because of the way um, our American health is being handled. And I ended up developing an endocrine disorder. I have hypothyroidism. Um, I I I survived losing my brother when he was only 6 months old. Just how much it broke the heart of our family and my father. My brother passed away on Father's Day. It is just one of those things that is like an insurmountable pain that I would never want anyone to go through, is losing a child. So when I talk about the maternal health crisis, I am talking as a person who suffered through it. I
Mm.
was the maternal health crisis. I watched my very first birth that I ever supported was a friend from high school. Um, we were best friends and we were very young, and I didn't know much. I only knew what they were teaching me. She had her children. She had a mental breakdown. She went through postpartum depression. Nobody ever helped her. I didn't know how to get her help. I didn't understand the importance of it at the time. And now I live with the fact that my friend's mental health has gone so far that it doesn't look like we'll have her back in this life. And then for me,
Let me just go back real quick, because you said that you witnessed your first birth based on what they taught you. Who is they?
so I was originally trained by I was in an education program called Peer Educator. The peer education program was created to help teach teenagers how to teach safe sex practices.
Mm.
But when you go somewhere teaching about sex, you also find people who are pregnant, and now you have become their their advisor, right? I don't I didn't know anything then. I only knew what I had learned in that one class.
Yeah.
So I started taking them to the health clinics and I started taking them to the teen clinics in order for them to get prenatal, in order for them to be tested for STDs, in order for them to get treatment. And in Michigan, where I'm from, it's not required for the parents to be notified when a young lady is pregnant. So they were allowed to get prenatal care in spite of their parents not knowing. They could go to these places, the county clinic and the teen clinic. And so they kept seeing me come in, but I wasn't one of the people that was either pregnant or being tested for something. And they're like, why are you always with everyone? And then I told them what I was doing. And they were like, okay. So then the nurses would give me booklets and they would show me things about pregnancy. And then I would go into the hospital and then I would be walking with the moms, and there were the doctors that were at the clinics, because the doctors at the clinics were volunteers. Like, you here again? And they started to just be like, okay, well, you just walk with them, or you doing a good job. But I was just helping. And they were like, oh, you're doing good. And then I'm starting to hold legs and help people. And I'm honestly, I'm still pretty young. I did not know much. I just knew that you go to the hospital and you have a baby. I knew that you went for prenatal care. I knew prenatal care was important. Um, I think about like one big thing with teenagers is a lot of them are anemic. A lot of teenagers are anemic. They almost all take iron. And I remember when I was younger, no one ever talked to me about like the issues with anemia. Now that I've gone in and I have education and I've learned and certified in a number of things, now I know anemia can cause mental health issues. Now I know that anemia makes you food averse where you don't like to eat. Now I know that anemia can cause pica and make you want to eat things like laundry detergent. But when the girls were eating cornstarch, I didn't know what it was. No one
Wait,
taught me.
what do you mean eat cornstarch?
So when you are anemic, severe anemia causes you to be food averse and then makes you crave non-food substances because the body is looking for what it is deficient in. And so that is where you get people who eat things like laundry detergent or, they're eating cornstarch and stuff like that. It's called pica. But anemia makes
Wow.
you food averse. Anemia makes you not like the taste of food. It's one of those things that happens. But anemia is blood health. Anemia can cause
Um,
adverse reactions to things. Anemia can increase allergies and all of that can happen just from being anemic. Just anemia alone.
you just gave me a revelation. My mom, for years, would eat cornstarch. I mean, she worked second shift. She would get off work. She had the box of cornstarch. She would throw her head back and fill her mouth with cornstarch and just wait until it dissolved. I had no idea. Wow.
Most of us don't.
Okay. You just answered a decades long question. Now I know. Okay. So you started young in this space, not even realizing it would bring you to this point. But in the meantime, you get married, you can't have children, or it seems like you're not able to have children. And so you started doing some research because
Absolutely.
you knew what God had spoken to you, and you're like, I don't care what y'all say. I'm about to figure this out. So, what did that look like?
So for me, I found a reproductive endocrinologist that sat with me and just broke down the science of fertility. And I remember going to other endocrinologists. I remember going to my primary care and they would pull my labs and they were like, that's not possible for you, Toni. That's not possible for you. They
What's
just
not
kept saying.
possible?
So for me, there are things like there's your fasting blood sugar, but there's a resting insulin inside of your body. That
Mm-hmm.
number is different. That is very different than what you're doing and expressing throughout the day. It has more to do with your genetic predisposition. Hyperinsulin resistance is a genetic predisposition to develop type 2 diabetes, usually controlled by diet and exercise. However, the science of epigenetics is very different. The epigenetic principles teach you that genes can be turned on and off. When you
Epigenetic.
are talking epigenetics, gene expression. Mhm.
Okay.
So when we are talking about you have a predisposition to have this condition because it runs in your family, what does that mean? Does that mean that your body doesn't synthesize things well? Does it mean that your body is deficient in something? So American didactics oftentimes focuses on caloric restriction, and a lot of times it focuses on intake. When I trained in nutritional therapy, it focused on quality of food and the
Okay.
source of nutrients that you need to control your health condition, your potential to develop a condition. At times, you may need assistance because your condition has already gotten out of hand. But understanding that, hey, I need to make sure that I'm eating enough of omegas and B vitamins. Well, where do I get that? What foods should I be eating? It's not just that I can eat less or eat a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There are a lot of things I can't eat. I don't eat processed food. I can't eat processed food. If I eat processed food, it's going to exacerbate my condition. So long as, and it's not so much, and when we say processed food, it's not always this is healthy by label. This is organic. For endocrine purposes, I have to stay away from eating too many cruciferous vegetables. Okay, what is that? That's broccoli, that's cauliflower, that's those things. It doesn't work well. It's still a vegetable. It's still good for me, but it's not. Too much of it causes an issue with the way my body processes it.
Right.
The other thing is I have to deal with my stress level. I have a pre-genetic disposition to have higher stress levels than other groups. So I need to be more active-minded in the way that I am living my life and processing what's going on around me. Because if I don't, it can make me very sick. So you can get a high-stress job, and by the time you leave that high-stress job with your genetic makeup, you're almost dead.
Oh my goodness. This is more than just women's health because, and earlier I was going to ask a question about men being involved in the process of childbirth, but that's a whole nother subject. But you just hit on something for years. And I recently got to the point where I'm not doing this anymore. I would be stressed at work to the point where I remember going into a job and my whole insides were quivering. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this is not normal. I could hear my head pounding. I was that stressed. And I'm like, I know this is not what God has for me. And so when you talk about those issues, they are truly physiological to men and women, but we're talking about you and your journey. So are you saying that those stressors and those variations in what you consumed impacted your inability to conceive?
Absolutely. So, Kishen,
Wow.
before I continue, I need 2 seconds to go off camera. I'm so sorry. I need to switch spots.
Okay.
I apologize, but this computer looks like it's
This is so good to me. I'm bragging about our guest, rightfully so. What I did not include, and I will share this as well, and in terms of some of her other noteworthy qualifications and experience, is that she's also a postpartum doula, certified Caribbean herbalist, a soul tribe heals, Soul Tribe Heals, um, a Mayan healing practices, Mexico University certified prenatal yoga instructor, and then certified lay counselor, Wellspring. So again, Toni Curtis is the woman of the hour of the time, talking about stressors and just different variations of things that happen to us on a daily basis that we don't know have an adverse effect on a lot of things, including being able to conceive. So, Toni, tell us a little bit more. You were about to go into some more information because my question was, so these stressors can prevent us from conceiving as women.
absolutely. So our environment plays a huge role in our development as women. And when you are put in a state of what I told you, fight or flight, those adrenal functions are running your body, your cortisol, you are put in a place where you can develop chronic health conditions. By being in an environment where our mothers don't breastfeed, our immune system is not the same. It is compromised, right? Breastfeeding has to do with the immune system. I'll get into that later. So you have a predisposition, a genetic predisposition for all of these things. Well, when you go to the doctor, they're looking for you to have it or not have it. And when you don't quite have it, the plan for you is you need to change lifestyle. Well, for me, I developed a condition called hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism slows down your metabolism. So while I was overweight, there was nothing that was going to change that without medication because I didn't have the metabolism to change it. But it also meant that there were other things in my endocrine system that were expressing themselves by my environment. One of the things was I figured out that there was no amount of money that I was going to be able to throw at this thing. I was going to have to figure it out. I threw a lot of money at it, and it did not change my fate. I spent many years going to doctors trying to have a child.
Yeah.
Nothing changed that. No fertility medication, no money, no effort, no pill was going to change my ability to have a child until I changed the way I lived.
What did that look like? So when you say change the way you live, because that could be a number of things.
So let's go back to that lifespan model.
Yep.
And I'm going to walk you kind of fast. We're going to fast forward, but I'm going to try to keep you with us. Okay. So I came from an environment where I was born of a Black woman. I had a predisposition to stress. I had a stress marker on my genes before I ever was born. We all carry it as African-American women, particularly. We find that women from the continent of Africa and African nations do not carry this stress marker until they get here. Stories for the books. However, I'm African-American, so I already had the genetic predisposition. I was put in an environment that was very stressful growing up. I had to live up to certain things, and so I embodied that. Later, I developed health conditions, but the health conditions were not so pronounced they needed treatment, so they were going to let me keep cruising down this road of not realizing what was the problem. Sugar, insulin in particular, not just sugar, because a lot of times we get it confused because we think, well, I don't have diabetes. No, you have a predisposition to develop it, which will interfere, possibly interfere with your ability to have a child. So I couldn't be living in an environment where I was always stressed out. I had to deal with it. I had to go to therapy. I had to actually work on myself so that I wasn't triggered all the time.
Yeah.
So that I was even keeled, so that I was actually living happy in the ways that I was living. I had to be willing to change the way I saw the world. Okay. Now, after that, I had to change my diet to one that was reflective of my culture, my genes. There are certain things that I don't need to eat because my body can't process it. I'll name the chief of them: milk, lactose. Not friends. Genetically, not even friends with Black people. Most Black people are lactose intolerant. It can cause you to have type 2 diabetes because you're eating, imagine eating something you're allergic to your whole life, not realizing it's what's making you sick.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I'm eating a diet that's reflective of who I am genetically. Then I incorporate enough exercise and time for myself to sleep, right? A lot of us that are workaholics, I'm a workaholic, I work all the time. However, I do find time to sleep because when I'm not at work, I am in my bed. I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm not at the gym or I'm not with the kids, I'm in my bed, I promise you. So I make sure that I don't have a toxic environment. My life is balanced. When I did that, and I figured out what herbs I needed because I was very deficient. I didn't grow up eating it. I sometimes ask my mom, why didn't we eat any of this stuff? And they said, because my mama didn't make it. If her mama didn't make it, she didn't make it. So that was why it wasn't a thing. But when you come from a community that was restricted in regards to what they had access to, we also have a relationship with eating the wrong things.
Yeah.
or eating them the wrong way. So I had to change that. I had to change all of that. And by simply doing these things, and I won't say it was simple, it wasn't nothing simple about it. I went in
Right.
and had my labs done every 90 days until I started seeing my goals being hit. That's how I
Shut
knew which
up.
herbs. Oh yeah, that's how I knew which herbs were working. That's how I knew what foods I was definitely intolerant of until I knew because I had been infertile and I had gone through infertility treatment, I knew what ovulation looked like. So I knew when the body was ovulating because I knew the signs of ovulation because I had been having a medically triggered ovulation many different times. So I knew ovulation like the back of my hand. I didn't know I didn't need the thermometers, but there are thermometers and other things that you can use to check your ovulation, but I knew ovulation. So
Well,
although
wait a minute.
I did go back.
I am impressed that you were doing your own self study, and that's important because people, they may do certain things. I mean, you took it, I would say, to the next level by even traveling abroad because you were in search of answers, and that's when you know this is serious. Now, is that covered in the book?
It will be, yes. Yeah, it
Oh,
will.
okay.
It will be because
So let's.
I found that our medicine wasn't medicine.
Mm,
Our medicine is masking conditions. It's
so it's
not healing the
suppressants.
condition. It's just it's helping the condition not get worse. Our medicine, our traditional herbalism, when I decided to get into herbalism and started to use homeopathics, I learned how much fear had been indoctrinated into our society about these things. But you will take a compounded medication in the blink of an eye without asking two questions. But if I try to rub your body with arnica oil, you will think I'm doing something crazy. When I tell you that, okay, for women's health, if you are a person who frequently has um urinary tract infections, well, honey, you need to take some hibiscus and cranberry and you need to drink that every day because those two things together are going to help you stop having all these bladder infections. You're prone to
Wow.
them. There's some bacteria, and I could probably give you some sources of where it's coming from. But in the meantime and in between time, you probably want to stop suffering and you probably want
That's
to get over them
good.
fast.
That's good.
So
And
I can tell you that, but you'll run out and get that antibiotic, but you want to drink hibiscus and cranberry.
see, this is, and I think more people are moving in that direction. I really do, because they see so much um, sickness and disease where maybe if they change some things, it won't be it won't be for them, maybe in particular. And that's one thing I remember my grandpa would never go to the hospital, he didn't go to the doctors. And when he finally went at the age of 83, 82 or 83, he never came back home. He said, all I need is some milk of magnesia. He went in, they said, look, he knew his body. I wasn't going to argue with him. They said he went in with gangrene for, he had cut his foot or something, cleaning under his toenails.
I remember this.
Went into the hospital and did not come out. I went up to see him, and I'm like, "Oh, Grandpa, what's wrong? They got me all this medicine in me," and he was mad,
I remember this.
and I'm like, and that was the last time I saw him. He said, "This stuff is making me sick," and I was like, "Wow." So to your point
I
of
remember being told
herbs,
about grandpa getting a rusty nail and getting gangrene that killed him.
yep.
I
Yep.
remember
Well, I don't think it was the rusty nail or the gangrene because he said this medicine is making me sick. If your body is not accustomed to whatever you mentioned, the compound chemicals and all this other kind of stuff, yeah, there's going to be an adverse reaction. and his ultimately led to death.
Well, here's the thing. The body is made to be in balance with the world we live in.
Yes.
It is my long-held belief and belief of many people like me that the herbs that we need to heal ourselves are outside. And to be honest with you, medicine is of the same belief. But you have to know that medicine wants to remove the herbalist. It's an antagonistic environment because it's not that we're wrong. It's, well, how can you guarantee how effective and the potency and how much someone. So here's the thing. You can probably do both. And by doing both, you'll probably get better faster and get off the prescription medication sooner. So let's use this because we're talking in an environment that we really live in. This is how we live our lives.
Yeah.
So I'll give an example. I was just at a birth, and here I got some right here, some castor oil. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's controversial because when you take this wrong, when you don't have someone who can tell you how to take it, you take it wrong, it can cause an issue. So if you take castor oil at the wrong time in your pregnancy, it is not going to send you into labor. It's going to send you to the bathroom. Too much castor oil is probably going to make the baby also have their first bowel movement while still in utero, which is an issue because it's called meconium, and that meconium can cause a respiratory infection, right? So typically, for those of us that are a little bit more well-trained with a little bit more information and we pay a little bit closer attention to your body, we will tell you, hey, when you take this at this time, you may probably go into labor. More than likely you will. We call it midwives brew. We add a few extra things. It ain't just castor oil, but castor oil is the chief ingredient that makes it all work. Now, here's what I'm telling you. If you take it and it ain't time to take it, you just go into the bathroom. That's the end. There's no baby coming out of there. It's just bathroom. Okay, you go into the bathroom, you're going to stay there all day. If you take it at the right time, you're going to have a baby. Now we go into the hospital. Well, the hospital knows that the research says and shows that castor oil is helpful with cervical ripening. Now, when you go to the hospital, they bring you in for inductions for what is called cervical ripening.
I want to go back before we go there, because we started talking about your infertility challenges.
Okay. Yeah,
so
y'all got to bring me back sometimes because I'll go into what I do all day. So
right.
For me, there
was
no one to help. I remember some of the lowest moments in my experience. A doctor saying to me, "I'll take your money, but you ain't gonna have no baby."
What?
A doctor saying to me, "Sometimes we don't have the answers." A doctor telling me that's not possible for you. I've walked in and I'm telling the doctor that I'm having an issue. I'm plateauing in my workouts. I need some help. I need you to look closer to my medicine. And they'll say, well, there are only 3 conditions that can cause a metabolic process. And they'll name it. It's Cushing's, it's hypothyroidism, and it's something else, right? Well, I got one of the 3. But before you read my chart, you immediately just dismiss the possibility. And so I had this environment where I felt like I was not being helped. I was fighting for help. I was fighting for information. I wanted to understand what was happening to me. And I remember the last appointment that made me say, you know what? I need to do this different. I walked in to my appointment and the doctor said, well, sometimes they're just people we can't help.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
Well, in the moment, I felt defeated. 2 seconds later, I felt like the devil was a lie and you was his best friend. So I changed my perspective. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong group of people. I'm thinking that this group of people might have an answer. So let me try to look for some other people who might have an answer for me. And I did. I went looking for the others. And when I met the others, I understood who I was and what I was
Who are
and
the
how I
others?
was. Yes. When I say the others, traditional healing methodologies are frowned upon in the medical community. And by me being a medical professional and me being a person that was aligned with a lot of the practices, it is not easy to say to someone, the thing that saved me was going out, learning what it meant to be in balance with God and this earth. I'm not supposed to live a life where I feel trapped.
That's good.
My body is fighting. My body is protecting me because the environment that I'm in is not safe for me to have children. My cortisol was protecting my body from having children in an environment that my body did not see as safe. And there was no pill that they had that was going to fix my cortisol. It doesn't exist.
So
but
how
there
did
are
you?
things that exist in herbalism. They're
Ah,
paired with the spiritual.
okay. So when you say spiritual, because people can interpret that different ways. What do you mean by that?
So think of this. One of the things that we teach is the body keeps score. So while I am not necessarily going to put my own personal faith on display because that's not, I'm not alienating. I want people to understand something. The body works and it stores information. So when I'm working on a person's sacrum, a lot of times they will feel emotional. It does not matter if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, it doesn't matter because the body works the way the body works. So you still have to get into balance with what you believe in. So when I'm working the body and I'm bringing you into rhythm with your own body, you're going to come face to face with what you believe in.
What's a
What do you
sacrum?
believe? The sacrum is the lower part
Oh,
of your spine. This is the sacrum.
okay.
So
Gotcha.
when I'm working the sacrum and I'm manipulating it, it is also it's considered the emotional center, right? Your baby passes through your sacrum. And so from a scientific standpoint, um, they're going to say that when a woman hits transition, the baby is low in the body where the baby is in full contact with the sacrum. That's transition. You're going to feel emotional. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You may feel nauseous. You may feel all of these things. Emotions do that to you. But I can work with your sacrum when you're not pregnant. You may feel that way then too. And that's regardless of what you
Interesting.
believe in.
Okay. I mean,
So
that's
that's the
good.
physical body. So that's the physical body. So you have to come face to face with how you gonna live your life. For me, my body was not going to do this having children thing so long as I was on a drive. I was in fight or flight. I was pushing. I was whatever I was going to do, I was going to do it as hard as possible. Well, my body said we must be in danger because there's no reason for us to live like this all the time if we are not running from something, if we are not in danger. But I was fighting. I was stressed out. I was working a stressful job. I'm in a stressful environment. I want to have the family. And then the other thing is the man makes a big difference. The man's health makes a big difference in your ability to have children as well. So, first trimester miscarriages are greatly associated with the man's health, right? That cellular development of a baby in the beginning has a lot to do with the man's health.
Wow.
So if he's unhealthy or your genetics don't mix well, you may not be able to bring a child to term. So there are things that are indicators for women, which is like the sugar I keep talking about, this diabetes, this hyperinsulin resistance, these endocrine problems.
Yeah.
High sugar levels also will cause a first trimester miscarriage. And I had those, but I never could get past it. So I had to get into the science, and then I also had to get into the application. So we take what's natural and normal, or what the innate ability, the physiological awareness, the physiological body, your birth and your anatomy, and we
Mm-hmm.
actually use it to benefit you. But your anatomy needs things, right? So when we talk nutrition, the body
Mm-hmm.
is synthesizing things. It's making protein to build muscle, or it's using carbohydrates for energy, or it's using fat to transport things from one place to another. Minerals cannot be recreated in the body, but the other things can. So you have to understand that these things all have a purpose. It's a big old party that you don't even realize you're having.
Mm.
So if I didn't deal with my body's, what it's expressing by my genes, by my behavior, by my experience, my body was not going to heal itself to the point to where I would have children.
This came to me as you were talking, and I don't know if you've considered it because it sounds like a TED talk.
I know. I asked Ted. Ted ain't answered me yet.
I'm
I,
so serious. Yeah. Yeah.
I asked Ted. He
This,
ain't answered yet. I'm still waiting on Ted to respond. I asked a few more people to ask Ted for me too, but we're gonna see when Ted answers.
oh, see. Okay. We'll talk offline.
All right.
Um, but I mean, seriously, and I think of people because I know people who were not able to conceive, and for you to pull in the male part in terms of what's happening, because I think a lot of times the focus is on women,
Mm-hmm.
okay? The womb and the ability to hold and carry a baby, but it's so much more.
Yeah.
This, you know what, this, I can talk about this all day long because there's so much to it that people don't even realize. And it is science. I mean, it's more than science, but
I always ask people, how do you want me to explain it? Do you want me to explain the
yeah.
science, or do you want me to explain the spiritual? Because I will tell you whichever version that you need to hear for you to understand it. I can tell you all about the hormones, the interplay, your anatomy, and how it all comes together. But I can also tell you that if you do not deal with yourself, you are not going to be able to do this well. It does not matter whether it be getting pregnant or having the baby. It doesn't matter. And then we turn
That's
around and
good.
we hand it down to the children we're having. So one of the other things I talk about with lifespan is work, is that we're handing these things down to the children, and we talk about the mother's intolerance to be able to raise her children, but we're teaching it to them.
Yeah.
We frustrating ourselves because we are making frustrating people by being frustrated.
You know what? We're gonna put a pin in it right there because I want to talk more about this, and maybe we can do some lives because I'm so serious. This needs to be talked about. People need to hear about it. People need to be aware. And it's, I mean, I'm beyond my childbearing years on purpose because my age. I'm not my son, my youngest son is 22. I'm not trying to give him no siblings. They good. But this is so good. I
And
wanna
I just
talk
gotta
about
say this
this.
one thing.
Yes.
Once I tell you all about what we can do, we got to also know there's a chemical warfare against us too. The studies have just come out about how toxic condoms are, but we're not talking to our young ladies about how promiscuity affects their lives.
Come on now. Okay.
We We are taking birth control
Mm.
that are giving us medical conditions like pulmonary embolism, having blood clots, and we are sitting here crying over our children, over our sisters, our aunties, our cousins, our loved ones, and our friends that are passing away from conditions we didn't realize. We don't talk about giving young teen girls birth control and how it weakens the immune system by not letting the estrogen flow that makes us women, that makes our bodies work, because we're so afraid that they're going to have babies. But we're not giving them an environment where they feel like they got other options or something better to do, where they have bigger dreams for themselves so that they can go off and be something. They don't want to lay down with somebody because they got something that they want to do for themselves. The reason we're afraid of it is because we're afraid of showing up for them when they need us most.
Okay. This sounds like we let's do a series. A live series, because you're right. It's summertime right now. And guess what? The kids ain't in school. So they can tap into this.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to leave it there and we're going to pick up and get together to do this so that they'll know every week on this day at this time, this is what we're going to talk about. Because you're right. We don't know. And I'll admit that I took birth control when I don't know. I guess I'm wired differently because I started thinking, I said, why am I letting this control what should happen naturally?
But we
And
have options though. That's what I'm not telling you that your daughter got to get pregnant, but let's just say that this young lady is no longer a virgin. Why are you not teaching you? We should be, if your daughter has engaged, number one, she should feel that there's a woman that she can safely tell.
you know what? This
Number two,
is
why we not using diaphragms? Why everybody scared? I'm like, you'll let a man go in there and do anything and everything they want to, but you afraid to stick this up there to keep you from getting pregnant.
but to your point, even before you started talking about that, and even talking about valuing who you are.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you get to that point where you're ready to be in a relationship
Mhm.
or get sexual, I'm still speaking that it's when you get married. But if it's before, because it happens, if it's before, make sure that you know who you are and whose you are, because women are giving themselves away. Young
Yes.
women, young girls are just doing it because they lack self esteem. They lack awareness of who they are. They lack identity. They are so fixated on what is happening and being alone. Well, it's a competition. Well, I got him, and I don't care if he belonged to her. I got him tonight. The whole just concept, social construct is skewed.
It's not wrong to keep your daughters close to home. It is a natural instinct to want to be in a physical relationship with another person. It is a natural thing. It is for you as adults raising these young ladies until they are strong enough to resist their urges to be so available. I get it. I have children, but you got to be there to go ahead and for the young men too. But the difference is our culture doesn't demonize men the way that they demonize women. And the other thing is that I don't know about anybody else, but I would like to be the first to break the cycle of poverty. I would like
This
our young women to stop getting pregnant before they're ready, and I would like our young men to stop being put on child support that they can't pay.
Come on now. See, this is what
Because
I'm talking about.
you
This
can't pay it.
then quit having
and
kids.
yeah, because
So
there's an instinct. It's okay. If you're the whole thing, the everything that I've talked about is the body is wired to do it. You are wired to do it. So don't get in. It's we shouldn't be punishing them. And it's all of no. Stop creating environments where you don't know where they at.
come on now. This
This
is why I say this is a series, because they here all summer. They are trying to figure out what to do.
mm, but
So
do you remember before the internet and before all of this, you was in the house. You got in trouble. being what they say, fast, what that word back then,
Class.
fast, being fast took effort. It took effort and maneuvering, because your parents wasn't letting you out the house. And
You better
Lord
not.
bless you if you got caught. Okay, these kids don't get the same. Ah,
Yeah.
but
But
I'm not necessarily saying we got to bring back that level of punishment. But what I will tell you is that accountability comes back into play when we stop saying that we're too busy to do,
exactly.
because we want this world to be better. You know, one of the biggest things that comes out of being an educator is making sure that the people that you're teaching increase in knowledge to the point
Yeah.
to where they're applying it and it is growing them, right?
Yeah.
Teaching someone the basics and not giving them some realistic expectation on how life really works is a disservice. I used
Yeah.
to make period packages for the young girls. So it was more of a celebration when they had their cycles, right? It had everything in it, little chocolates, congratulations, and here's the heat pack. I know that some days it might be hard, like notes on what to do. And it had a note every day for 7 days of
Wow.
encouragement, because the
Mm.
first is the shock, and then what am I supposed to do? And I don't like this, and now I'm doing it wrong. And Lord knows, if you ever had a teen girl, what that is going to end up looking like for a few tries until they figure it out. But it's not easy. It's embarrassing, and it's a lot for the young ladies to go through. Um, but making them run away from it and do things that are not in their best interest is counterproductive. We got to think about how
Yeah.
young our children are when they start this.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, a series live, because there may be people who want to ask questions, young people, and just put it out there, and they may not even be teens but young adults even. I think, yeah.
You
Okay.
know, by starting with teenagers, I started with teenagers. I was a teenager when I started. A lot of the girls got pregnant on their first time,
Mm-hmm.
because the reason they probably got pregnant is the physiological body starts craving a man when you're ovulating. That's when it gets a little bit uncontrollable. It's some
Mm.
adult women that need to know that if you staring at him, you need to make a decision on how you want to approach, because you may end up with a small person in roughly 40 weeks.
Yeah.
How often is available to them?
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have more. I think, that was the purpose. God, He does things the way He intends for them to happen, and I just get the revelation in the moment. I'm like, what? So we're
Well,
gonna
not everything
wrap.
is wrong, baby. Not everything is wrong. It's not wrong, it's truth.
And I agree. I agree that people just need to become aware. When you know
Absolutely.
better, you do better.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna wrap this up, but
All right.
um, I'm gonna figure out how to chop this up so it's not one big, uh,
Right.
long podcast. But I think I know we're now going to create a series, just however long we come up with it. So anyways, Toni Curtis, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your experience, just parts of you to help us to understand a little bit more about the conversation that will continue, because I'm all about helping people. If I could go back and help my younger self, I would, but I can't. I'm where I am now, but I can go back and help somebody else. So that is what my intents are. My intentions are. So thank you again. I can't wait for your book to come out. Like I said, I've already been telling people about your book, but what you bring and the value that you add to people, to just knowledge and understanding, the wisdom that you share with people, I am certain will be life changing. So Thank you again for joining Stories with Kishen, ordinary people with extraordinary lives. Any last words before we wrap up?
Thank you for having me. This is a wonderful experience. I'm so grateful that you gave me the opportunity to share all of this. You know, it may be my favorite subject, but um, I'm honored. And I'm honored for everyone that listens and hears me, and it opens your mind and it makes you rethink what is possible. I am so grateful to be that conduit for you.
Amen. Okay, until next time, be looking out because we taking this on the road.
All
All right,
right now.
take care. You don't go anywhere.
Okay.